Our Ninja has 32,000 miles. It's time for the 32,000 mile service, oil change, filter, and a few other things. Today we got a pretty busy day ahead of us. We got work to do on the farm. Karen has friends coming over. She wanted me to get whatever I have to do out here done early, so I'll be of service inside, serving dinner, whatever I'm supposed to do. Anyway, we're up on 32,000 miles. We're ready for the oil and filter on our Ninja, and they have been 32,000, 13 years. A very enjoyable relationship with this motorcycle, including the full restoration, which is out on our channel. As step one, as always, before I even get started, I want to have a cup of coffee. I want to evaluate how I want to lay out the day. Every day this time of year is a little bit different because we have so many things to do beside this. Cleaning the yard, leaves to blow, fish filters to clean. And I want to get all the bikes, all the maintenance up to snuff before the really cold weather comes here, so that when the really cold weather's here, I'll be working in a nice warm cellar. But it starts out that way, but it never works out that way, ever. And all my friends that have small collections of humble collections of motorcycles like we do, I do, Luciano does, there's no end to the maintenance. Just when you think you've got everything all caught up, it's time for another oil change or another set of tires or something. But this guy has really been a real special part of my collection, and we've had him since new. It used to be Rob's bike. I took it over from him, but it's never been out of the family. I did that big restoration, including the wheels, including mixing a custom paint for everything, and it was just a total labor of love. So as always, the first step, move some motorcycles around. You turn yourself into a parking lot attendant. There's no end to it. So step one on any oil change, get the engine nice and warm so the oil flows out. And of course we'll get the rug set up so we never get an oil change without dripping something. I don't want to get it on my what I call the sacred blue rugs. And it seems like no matter how careful I am, it's hopeless. I always get some drips and drools on here, especially when you're changing the filter and everything all at once, as what we're going to do today. But anyway, that's a rubber-backed rug. This side is rubber, the other is like a rug. And you can tell how many years I've had it, and that's served me well. Now, I always have a bunch of these old towels. These are old Walmart towels. They were on sale one time for $2 a piece, and I bought a ton of them, and boy, they have served me well. And I don't want to get the rug any dirtier than I have to, of course, but if you don't have a rug, I guess it's not that important. Yeah, it really is important. Just you feel more like a good mechanic that way. Okay, we're ready to drain the oil. Now, before I pull the drain plug and pull the filter, one thing to mention. I have been religious, even when Rob was riding the bike, about doing the maintenance, the oil, and the filter, and using real Kawasaki oil filters and whatever. I just think, when you think of the damage you can do if you don't do the maintenance, as opposed to the money you spend for oil and I've got real Yamalube, not not Pep Boys oil or something, reclaimed from hamburger oil. I have really paid the price to keep the maintenance up on this, and it's paid. This bike is like a brand new bike after 32,000 miles. Now, it's real handy if you have a little Harbor Freight flashlight, because the drain plug on this bike, you don't have to remove the side fairing to get to. It's very handy that they did that. But it's still in an area where it's a little tricky to get in there. It's a 17 millimeter. And so, now once I get it cracked, get the pan in place, we don't need the light anymore. And nothing, if I have never met a real mechanic that didn't think the most important thing you can do if you have a bike you want to keep forever is religiously do the oil and filter. So to give that a little extra time, and there's no rush, we're not trying to rush this at all. I will go have another cup of coffee, see if Karen's got anything else she wants me to do. The longer you let it sit, the more chance you'll get all of that oil out. And we still got to pull the filter still. No better way to wait for an oil change to come to fruition than have an extra cup of coffee. And Karen has her friend coming over for lunch. They have a festive lunch while I'm changing oil. How much fun is that? It's sad to see the last few tomatoes on our vines here. We still got a couple. But, of course, we've had a very productive season. Oh, the one in there, in fact. What a season it's been. We got a cucumber from the second planting. That one's ready to go. Take them.
But the other one is not so nice.
The other one's not so good, huh?
Look at it.
This is our second season. He's an RD. And we had some beautiful kohlrabi late in the season. So here's a little mini harvest for the day. One of my prized kohlrabis. One little cucumber. One big tomato and a bunch of cherry tomatoes. We are truly at the end of the season, but it's still fun. Now, some motorcycles, and I don't know which ones do and don't, so I clean them all, have this center of the drain plug is a magnet. I don't know if this is one of them. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to clean this with parts cleaner, brake fluid cleaner, carb cleaner, something. I want that immaculately clean and then blow some compressed air on it. Make sure that's as clean as I can possibly make it. Yeah, I can't really tell if that's a magnet. I guess you could put a piece of steel on it. Doesn't matter. I want that to be perfectly clean before I put it back. Now, I always rock the bike, try to get that last little bit of, and I can see if it's when it stops dripping, but there'll still be a little more in there. But by rocking it back and forth, you get probably a shot glass, a couple spoonfuls of the older oil out of there. And of course, it's to your advantage to get it all out. Now, on this bike, to get to the oil filter conveniently, and I'm sure there's a way you can do it with if you have hands like an octopus, but to take this one side of the lower fairing off, it's really easy to do. But before I do that, I want to make sure I'm going to put the drain plug back in, because I don't want any. That's why I went for a coffee break. I didn't want to have any more oil dripping down on there while I have that piece of the fairing off, and then I can get to the filter from this side relatively easy. Now, luckily, the bodywork comes off relatively straightforward on this. And we'll be able to get to the oil filter very conveniently. Now, luckily for us, this relatively simple job to take this off. Some of the bikes, a little more difficult. Some have Zeus fittings, that's convenient. This has screws, but it's still relatively easy to take it off. Now, with that piece removed, getting to the oil filter will be a piece of cake. And there's the oil filter. Now, while we have this apart, take a wild guess. What I'm going to do is I'm going to polish the pipes up a little bit, take a few minutes, and make sure inside the fairing here is nice, as clean as I can possibly make it. But very convenient now to get at the old oil filter and get the new one in. So it's very convenient that the 17 millimeter that takes off the drain plug also loosens up. Well, this is a K&N filter, but okay. Good to have that oil out of the engine. And again, we want that to all drip down, get every drop possible out of there. And I'll clean that ring with a clean rag. You're ready to put the new oil filter on. Now, in the oil filter box, I thought I used up all the K&Ns, but I still have one left. Oh, I got two left. And that's for the other bike. Okay, so we have a brand new oil filter. This will make the job really easy. So make sure that that's perfectly clean. Then I want to take a little bit of oil and just a drop of oil. Put it on the edge. And I'm always very careful not to make the oil filter too loose or too tight, and to check it at the end. Now with the new oil filter in there, I want to put the oil in next because I want to run the bike and make sure, of course, that nothing is dripping and drooling while I have that fairing part off. And before I put the fairing back on, again, I'll clean the pipes up and clean inside the fairing here. All easy peasy stuff. But that's good. We're good now to really just ready to add the oil. And not like I'm too prejudiced or anything, but I have used this since I bought the '09 Yamaha R1, and I have never had a problem with anything, clutches slipping or anything, so I'm real loyal to the Yamalube 1040. Now, one thing I try never to do is overfill, and so I'm very patient and cautious about adding the oil. I don't need to add it in 10 seconds. Let it all run down a little bit. I know this is going to take somewhere between 3 and 4 quarts. So I'll put roughly 3, and you can, well, I'm sure everybody knows this, you can put this on a level surface and you can see where 3 quarts would be. So a little less than 3 quarts, and then we'll see. I just want to see the little tip of it in the window, that's all. And this is probably the most critical part of doing any oil change, because boy, if you put too much oil in, I'm not sure exactly what goes bad, but every bike I've ever worked on, big letters, do not overfill the oil. So anyway, okay, we're going to let that run down. Let's see if it's coming up in the window yet. All right, we don't have anything in the window yet, so we'll add just a little bit more and go back and forth and we get the bike. I balance it up level, and I want to see that come up a little bit at a time, and I want to get it that it's at the lower line. Then I want to run the engine because that's going to fill the filter. Let it sit for a couple of minutes, maybe go have another cup of coffee, then come back and do the same test again, and when I'm done, just top it off so it's right in the middle. Well, as I say, I'm a little more patient maybe than most people are doing this because I don't want to run the risk of overfilling it and having to drain some out. Okay, now once that goes down, I want to see it just come up in the window. A little bit more. Takes a second or two to get down in there. There we go. Okay, so now I'll put the cap back on, run the engine for 30 seconds, make sure that the filter isn't dripping, and then we'll shut it off and top this off. Okay, here it comes. And we need about a shot glass more. We're right at level right now. I think 1 shot glass more and we're good to go. And that's why I like to do it little by little by little, not get too carried away. Because boy, is it a pain in the neck to drain some of that out. Now I just thought I'd mention something that on this particular bike, this is a 2009, when you put the oil in the filter just like what I just did, and you start the bike for the first time, of course the oil light will be on. But also on this bike and on some other bikes, at the same time the oil light goes on, the fuel injection red light goes on too. They go on as a safety thing, so I guess so you see that it's a problem. But as soon as this goes off, a lot of times the fuel injection light will stay on. So to cure that, you shut the bike off, you wait 10 seconds, 20 seconds, turn it back on, and it's off. That's a good tip, by the way. I think they do that as some kind of a safety thing to, well, whatever. So I let the bike run outside for at least 5 minutes, not a drop off, no problem at all. But we have a windstorm out there now. I'm not going to be able to shoot any video outside for the rest of the day. It's 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts. And with this camera, all you hear is the wind. Anyway, so what we're going to do, the next thing is I'm going to let the pipes cool off, go have some more coffee. And I want to clean up the pipes, because while you have the fairing off, it's a good idea to do work that's convenient to do while you have the fairing off. A lot of people, a lot of you friends of mine, they don't understand that concept. You got that piece off the bike, get in there, clean in there, get some compressed air in there, blow out all the dead turtles and everything. It's good to do that. Well, I don't know if you can hear the wind in the background, but the wind right now out there, holy mackerel. I'm afraid the bike could blow off the kickstand. I don't know where this wind is coming from. It's supposed to be it is a sunny day, but the wind is blowing. Anyway, beside the point, it's a good day to repolish these, get these cleaned up while I got this all apart. I took the compressed air, got a lot of bugs off the radiator. It's been a buggy season, of course. And always a good idea, just hit it with the old buffing wheel a little bit. And as we all know, the gods see everywhere. They really do. Now, when I planned out this restoration, one of the things I really wanted to have of the custom features was to have these pipes really highly polished. And it was really funny, when I had all the fairings off the bike and I was painting it, it was a piece of cake. Now it's a little more work to get in here, but still a lot easier than if you don't have any of the fairings off, that's for sure. But I always thought this was one of the defining things that I really liked about this bike when the restoration was done. And other people have noticed it too. That's always surprised me. How many people see that extra little detail you put into a job? All right, they're cleaned up nice. We're ready to button up the body work here. Just a matter of a couple of fittings and a couple of those plastic push pins. And when I did the restoration on this, I do remember reinforcing some of these little tabs and everything. So far, luckily, none of them have broken or deteriorated, and so snapping this back together is really a piece of cake. Once those little tabs break and you haven't reinforced them, you're dead. Well, we're almost done. A couple more of these fasteners. Tighten them all up, and we're going to clean the bike up. Now, anytime I have the back wheel up, I want to clean it. I want to lube the chain, check the chain that it's in spec. All this is part of just like an endless amount of maintenance that keeps a bike like brand new or turns it into a rust bucket. And the chain's right where it should be. I can get the back wheel cleaned up too. Once I get done cleaning up the back wheel, I want to take the buffing wheel, get some fresh colonite on this. Winter is coming. Now, the whole idea of waxing a bike, or over waxing it, would be the best thing. At least, if nothing else, a minimum amount of wax, even the spray wax. The reason is we're going to be riding, and it's inevitable. They're going to start salting the roads as soon as we get the first snow of the year, and then that's going to be a problem. So I've gone through many winters of having to clean the bike, and I think the colonite is going to make it a little bit easier, but actually if you put any wax, it's better than no wax at all. But the colonite really does seem, and again, thanks Joe Padula for turning me on to that, but Dallas has had good luck with it, along with several other people that have told me they like it. And I don't want every year the bike looks 5 years older than it really is. I want it to stay looking new. And every once in a while I like to go over all the painted surfaces with the 8065 and a real soft buffing pad. This is that color Bentley black that I fell in love with. And boy, when you put a clean set of wax on this, run that soft buffing compound on it, wow. You can really see yourself in that paint. That's Bentley black. And because I put an awful lot of work into the paint work on these custom bike paint jobs, I really want to maintain it, and maintain it well. And now, just to top everything off, a fresh coat of colonite on everything I can get wax on. And I'm thinking, once I get this wax on, wax off whole thing operation, it goes quick. I'm amazed. This goes a lot quicker than the old-fashioned Simonized waxes that you had to be a bodybuilder to get on and off. This stuff really goes on nice and really comes off beautifully. And I just got another fresh load of the nice clean microfibers from brand new microfibers, not even clean. You know, we are pretty much, we got the 32,000 mile check done, and we are ready for winter when it finally gets here. Now, as I clean this up, and I just think, here we got a bike. It's a 2009, so it's 12, 13 years old now. 32,000 miles, and I would guarantee you, if somebody didn't know about motorcycles, you could put this on a showroom and sell it as a new bike, maybe even better than a new bike. I don't know. Of course, all that's in the eye of the beholder. Well, as I finish up the detailing of the bike, try not to get blown away by that wind out there. I hope you did enjoy the video. Hope you picked up some good information. Hope you share the passion for motorcycling like we all do. And thank you so much for watching. So if you're new to the channel, my objective with my bike collection was to have one bike from every 10-year period. And the second part of my commitment was to keep them as reliable and new and polished and clean and whatever. And not neglect them and let them deteriorate any more than age does take a certain amount. Look at me, for instance. But anyway, trying to keep them as nice and clean as possible. Share the passion with my friends who also have bike collections or individual bikes or no bikes. You just like to hang out and watch what's going on in my life. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.